recording this whole time, huh?
Yeah. And so what I was gonna do, like I said, was like I'm gonna like edit it in so that like it's gonna like fade in with no audio, right? And then by the time we start, it'll just start like when we want it to start.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I'm sleepy today because it's rainy.
It is rainy today.
Yeah.
We did one episode already.
Yes.
This is episode number 2 for you. Mm-hmm. This is going to be episode number 10 for the podcast.
Oh.
So you're on 20% of the episodes already.
Wow.
We had a couple of topics that we wanted to talk about today. We'll just jump right into it. The first topic is regarding a girl named Sarah Kim. This is TikTok drama.
Yeah.
This is Korean American TikTok drama.
Yeah, and I'm so curious to see if any of it has made its way over on Instagram, but I highly doubt it.
Really?
It's
Does she not really have a following on Instagram?
no, because you know how everything is like on TikTok first, and it takes a while to get over. I don't know.
Right. But I mean, like, even if it does happen slower, I mean, if she has an audience,
no one to talk to this about with. That's why I would be
Are you
pestering.
serious?
That's why.
No one that you know has been talking about it?
No.
Which is so insane because I feel like all you see on TikTok is talking about this.
None of my friends are on TikTok. Except for Andy Ko. So he's doing,
How is it that you are so like involved in this, but people that you know in real life, like it's a complete mystery. But regardless, let's catch the listener up on what it is that we're talking about. So Sierra, you've been talking to me about this drama that you've been, watching videos on that's been unfolding on TikTok this past week. Tell us a little bit about it. Give us the background. Like, what do we need to know?
What do we need to know? Okay. It's a lot. Is it a lot? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to ramble on. Would it be better?
So who is this drama about?
Okay. So Sarah Kim, who goes by Hoem Girl on TikTok, it's involving her and her husband.
Okay. Her and her husband.
And so I originally found her on TikTok because she made a lot of like food content with her mom, and she would, show herself eating her mom's food, or like her mom made a lot of kimchi and gaejang.
Okay.
Like the raw marinated crab dish, Korean dish, and like they kind of, I feel like her and then a few other people that did mukbangs on that, kind of just like made the raw Korean, like the Korean marinated raw crab, like become a trend
on TikTok,
just like
in the world.
Yeah, or I guess on TikTok. Yeah, TikTok.
I mean, it may,
but there was a lot of like non-Koreans.
But there was a buzz. There was a buzz, and they were behind the buzz. And so what you're saying is,
I would say that they were one of the people behind the buzz.
These are TikTok creators. They're Korean American.
Yes.
And they are capable of creating buzz. They have some influence.
Right, because they just. Cute, like her parents are really cute. She features her family a lot, and it seems like the family is very tight knit. But the mom and dad are just in a very loving relationship. Their dad just seems like such a sweetheart, and looks so young for his age. That's another thing.
Sounds familiar.
And so I feel like the reason why she resonates with a lot of people, or whatever her content, is just cute family, cute. Enthusiastic for food, and she did a bunch of videos about like her. I think she's an accountant, so it's just like her not having a job, her getting a job, or quitting her job, or
a lot
getting
of
a life off.
Stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so you kind of knew a bit of that part, and they're based in San Francisco,
Bay Area.
Yeah, Bay Area,
California.
Yeah, and so you just learn these little things about them. You're like, okay, shoot, they live in San Francisco, Bay Area, right? And so her relationship with her husband is cute. All we knew until recently was that he was 8 years older, and that he was also a Korean American, cannot speak Korean. That's all you really got from that. And like they're like in a very lovey-dovey relationship, right? I've seen people commented on the recent videos being like shocked about what I'm about to say, I guess. But
Okay.
because they were like, you romanticize your relationship so much, but it doesn't,
It was all
doesn't
bullshit.
look, yeah, whatever that means. But and so it recently came out. They started a podcast, the two of them, and
I think ours is better.
I don't know. Theirs is pretty juicy.
I don't know.
But
We'll latch on to some of their
yeah,
juice.
and to be honest, I have not really watched any other podcasts in their entirety. I've just seen clips here and there that she's released.
All right. Like snippets.
Snippets,
or
yeah.
clips, yeah.
And basically, I think one of the podcasts is about like how they met, and I think they've been married for like 4 years now or so. And so just a topic of like difficulty or hardships that they've gone to. They talk about finances because she is, shockingly, to everyone's shock, the main breadwinner. He is like, has been or a pastor or I'm not really sure his current situation in that, but he's jobless. And on top of that, she is pregnant. She's about
Currently
maybe
pregnant?
4 or 5 months pregnant, I think.
Okay.
Currently pregnant, and she had just recently started her new corporate job a few months ago. And they have like the most amazing food at her work. I think it's like a Korean company or something. I don't know. Just like it's kind of like the Facebook setup where it's like all the food and snacks are provided. Yeah. And it looks really good. And so that was shocking to a lot of people. They're like, what? He is jobless? Because from what you could gather, you just assume that he was like in tech. Okay.
And you would assume that because they live in the Bay Area.
Yeah, he's an Asian guy. He seems like, yeah, it just looks like, yeah.
Does it seem like they, quote unquote, live well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're not lacking in like, not that I know of. They eat well. They, go on vacations, but whatever. But she does delve deeper into, I guess, their financial struggles or history. And I think at one point they did go to like a financial advisor. So yeah, they're very open with that kind of stuff right now. But I think.
But what is the big like juicy drama? Really?
That he's jobless, and that people found clips of him. That he's jobless. Let me get back to that. That she is the main breadwinner, basically working 2 jobs. She commutes I think it's about 2 hours each way to work.
Each way?
Yeah.
That is insane.
I think people have been saying 1 hour, but from my memory of watching her other videos, like,
it's a long
my life.
It's like a big part of her day. It's a huge pain in her ass.
Public transit. But she takes public trans, but she has got to transfer, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So she started this job a few months ago. She does that now, and then she has her own channel, like her own TikTok channel, that she is working on. She just started a podcast, So it just seems like she has a lot on her plate. They just moved into a new home. This is crazy. I feel like a stalker talking about them.
That you know so much about them.
But anyways, yeah.
Like, so Sarah Kim and her husband, it's wild because, their online persona or her online persona up till now has been very like picturesque and all that. But as of late, it's been revealed that her husband kind of seems like a deadbeat. And I know you don't want to say that word, like, is a scrub. I know that was a word that our friend Andy used to describe not just him, but like other people like involved in like the Korean church or whatever.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that just yet. But let's stick to just Sarah and whatever her husband's name
Andrew.
is. Andrew. Okay.
Andrew Min.
Andrew Min.
He's a Min.
That's right.
We do not claim him.
A Min from the Midwest.
Yeah, from
Midwest
Illinois.
Man. Illinois.
Yeah.
An Illinois Midwest
And he
Min.
claims that's why he can't speak Korean, which I understand, which I get.
Like, if you wanted to have a reason to not speak Korean, you could use that and people would be like,
Yeah,
okay.
it makes sense. Oh, another thing that people were outraged about was it was revealed that he had used his mom's engagement ring, to propose to her, obviously, because he has no money, which is fine. But I guess he didn't change the ring or anything. Because it's like, the ring, I guess, was beautiful, but it was kind of like the setting was kind of dated. And he literally just took the ring from, his mom, storage, and just didn't change anything about it. And she ended up going and putting her own money and getting a new setting for it, which she can. But I think people were like, what? And they also were kind of like, they talked about how his parents were divorced. So that ring for his mom was very painful. And so, that's perfect reason to give it to his new be wife. But people that's what they're outraged about. Because they really love Sarah. They want the best for her. They want the best for any sister or girlfriend, and then to know that they might be suffering and being
has she come out and said that she's like, oh man, this is like...
No, I think she, in the podcast, it's pretty revealing. If, I would recommend going to watch either some of the clips or just watching the actual podcast. But it's almost like an airing of
grievances
a little bit, or just like putting it out there, because people are like, why are you putting this out there? Like, it's not a good look for either of you, or especially him. But she talks about how when they first moved in together, he, didn't spend any money on the engagement ring. She didn't say this. This is what people are, but
who's saying?
The internet peoples. I'm making that conclusion together. She never said like, oh, he, instead of spending the money on my engagement ring, he spent it on a PC. She didn't say that, but you're just piecing these things together, okay? So he bought this like big PC set, and we would just stay up playing games. Yeah. Like how guys do, but like, you can do that if you work, if you contribute. It's not even working. Yeah. It's okay if times have changed. Like, women are, have more, opportunity to chase their careers and stuff like that, and that's great, and that's okay. Yeah. But if your spouse doesn't work and they're not contributing, like cooking, cleaning, I don't know, giving me a shoulder massage or something, what use are you? I'm not saying people are for uses, but it's just like, why should the girl have to raise it's like raising a child.
For sure.
It's not a partnership,
Right. And I think when we were talking about this topic before, like, I don't know, it seemed a little bit more like, I guess what's the drama, like what's the drama about it?
Number one, man lacking.
Man lacking. That is a hot headline.
That happened to someone that they didn't think would ever experience that. I think that's what the shocking thing is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel silly talking. I feel really silly talking about it, but that's like what it is. Like, people are like, "Oh, you portrayed this thing." It's not even. She probably didn't even. She was just taking videos of her life, and she just happens to have like a really cool, or really cute life and cute family. And just she grew up. You can tell she grew up very like in a loving home. Yeah. But then they're like, gosh, you grew up seeing, your dad being so good to your mom and providing, but then why are you living like that? People are almost like angry about that. I don't think they're angry at her. They're mad for her. They're like, girl, like, what are you doing? But really, is it any of our business?
This is so... And this is another topic that I wanted to talk about with you on the podcast, is the topic of that one Korean actress that committed suicide. Because of that, the takeaway that, the thing that's like jumping out at me about the whole story is not so much the lack, or like, I don't know. I think the response to the story is a little bit more interesting to me than the story itself. Like the degree to which people are reacting or responding to this being brought to light. Considering the fact that most of these people, the vast majority of the people, don't know these people in real life. Right. And, how could, just like you were saying, Like the place that this like outrage and uproar is coming from is from a place of like wanting to protect or like feeling bad for like or wanting more for Sarah, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it's like projecting. It's like you want good for her, but it's like
but her
you would
story
never
kind
like
of
stand. Yeah, you would never take that for yourself. So why should she take that for herself? You know. But there's a lot of girls like Sarah out there, like a ton.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Do you
not.
feel,
It's not normal.
do you
It's
like,
not like
can you identify with her? Like you like, I know how that feels.
no. No.
No, I'm just,
I know how it feels, not on that level, but I know how it feels to be disappointed by your man. And that's not a unique thing. I think men are just
I think the,
like, yeah.
no, I understand. And for me, I think a lot of the, it's going to be interesting again, just like the response to this. The response, the part of the response that is the loudest and most clear is the outrage and just like the people being upset at this guy, Andrew. The other part of the response that I feel inside of myself, and I know probably exists, is like people who identify more with Andrew in the story. They're like, oh man, that's been me. Like I've been that guy where I've been lacking, and they see the response that people over the internet are having to this guy Andrew for how he's been lacking.
Yeah.
And it's like the opposite of responding. It's like the hiding. It's like, you know, there's like a group of people who are like voicing their opinion of how much they hate Andrew or like how angry they are at him for putting Sarah through that. But there's got to be a population of people out there that are feeling what Andrew's feeling, and they're like, ugh.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And I just say that as a guy who is not perfect and has failed to provide many times over. I guess, you know, my one redeeming quality is that I'm still here and I'm still trying.
That's the most important thing. You know what's frustrating though? It's because you've never put me in a position. Like we've had a very dynamic life together, but that you've never like made me doubt like, well, can Dave provide for me? Because you've always like you worked in a freaking factory when you first moved to New York City. You worked in a cafe, like in between your corporate jobs, like.
Yeah, but I mean, this goes.
Like
this goes.
Home and
this goes a little bit deeper, like into, like personal, like choice and like free will. Like I don't know. I don't think I have the capability. I don't know. I have no idea what I was about to say.
Yeah, I think people are just also, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of little details about this guy. I guess he's, you know, a little bit of a bum, but he does not really cook and clean because he says he doesn't like to.
And we know this, yeah.
And that's just adding fuel to the fire.
There was the clip, and then another thing that added fuel to the fire was a clip of him at one of his sermons. Was it?
Yeah, I think one of his sermons. Yes.
And in this clip, he was talking about how he couldn't speak English because he grew up in the cornfields of Illinois. He was born in Illinois, like behind a cornfield. He said, I think was the direct quote, and he was trying to learn it, and when he uses it at home. He's like, and this person who lives at my home.
Yeah.
That was very funny.
Yeah.
We'll put a clip of that in the video when I'm editing it.
Yeah. I mean, that clip itself, I probably triggered PTSD in a lot of Korean Americans who went to church. Just the way he was talking. I think he was just trying to be funny. Like he thought he was a comedian.
It was the type of funny that was very heavily used in Korean American church,
but he doesn't.
But isn't really funny. It's very self-deprecating, but also like very like attacking. Like
I don't know. There was no. It was just that. It was flat. There was no.
I mean, that was just a clip. We don't know what he said after that or before that.
Right. I should probably watch it.
Right. I'm just saying, like, just
all
given
the
the
clips that
context, just given the context of the clip that we're actually talking about, you know, we can still say that the things that he says are like, we're like, ooh, like kind of like red flaggy.
I don't know what like Bible verse you could follow that up with. I honestly don't. I'm actually kind of getting mad thinking about the thing. What he said.
What was it exactly that he
put
said?
down his wife in front of like so many people, and it wasn't even like I know what he was trying to say. I think he was trying to be like, you know, my Korean's so bad. Like he should have made a joke about himself, but instead he just put down his wife. Like I knew what he was trying to do, but he didn't have enough intelligence to make it funny. Like people don't realize you have to be. Comedians are extremely intelligent. You have to be. You have to be to have a little humor, and he is just like not. Sorry, I'm not calling.
I don't think it's
like,
intelligence. I don't think it's intelligence. I feel like it's more honest. Honestly, I think it's more the willingness to be the butt of the joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that I would say
and
that
he came off as extremely defensive,
unintelligent.
I would say more defensive as opposed to unintelligent. We can't say whether he's a smart guy.
I know. That's the thing. That's why this topic is.
Right.
Is interesting because
but also,
you can't,
we talked about this before too. Like the only thing we want to contribute or add to this is to this topic.
Right. I'm not bashing anyone.
Right. We're not bashing anyone. We're talking about the drama that unfolded. But in terms of what it is that we're hoping for and what we want out of the situation for Andrew and for what's her name? Sarah. We don't know what the best outcome is. Right, for them.
Right.
We don't know them.
All in all, I want.
So we can't say we hope everything works out for them and they stay together. We can't say that because we don't know if that's best. We also can't say, well, I hope that Sarah, you know, grows a pair of balls and walks away from this loser.
No, yeah, a lot of people.
We don't know if that's the best either. I think, given what we know, which is not a lot, we've identified like the certain things about like Andrew seeming kind of lacking. In the areas of like how he's contributing financially.
Just providing. Oh, and then she said on the podcast, she's like, I need a financial provider. She said that to him.
Yeah.
I think they were like, whoa.
I think maybe, you know, this is just kind of what happens when you talk about private stuff in public.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe it was their plan all along because they got a lot of views.
You know, plan or not, I think maybe it was just, you know what, they're like, you know what, this is something that we've been struggling with. How about we just put it out there?
Yeah, and I think that's very brave and bold of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking something similar to that along the lines of like, be ready to pull me back in. Okay, kind of about to go out there. Like, saying something, like putting it out there to the internet, no filter, just putting it out there is like a form of prayer almost. Like, just like exposing your like raw, real, like hurt or struggle, the thing that is like causing you pain, and to be able to lay that out humbly and without like expectation, other than the hope that you have for, you know, other than what it is, like whatever you may be hoping for, but just put it out there. Like, is that could that be a form of prayer? Is that the new fucking
I think
21st century, dear God, please hear my prayer?
Kind of does, what can anyone say at that point, right?
Owning something first?
If you're like, oh, this is how it is.
Oh, owning something first.
Instead of people speculating or, but no, I don't, to be honest, I don't think it was that deep for them.
We don't know.
I think this is just from what I'm vibing and my observations. I think it was just a topic for their new podcast. That's something that because here's the thing, Sarah is young. She is, I believe, 28, 29.
Okay.
Got married when she was 23. No. She got married young. She got married young, okay? So maybe not, I don't know the exact timeline.
Okay.
But I think for her talking about that kind of stuff, I'm sure the past 4 years of her marriage, the only 4 years that she's been married, has been very difficult on that end. That's a lot for a young person.
For sure.
Especially a girl dating an older guy to have to take on. And so I think maybe because they are in a slightly better place now. She said it as well, in place now than they were 4 years ago. She feels just like, like how worse could it get? And so she's not happy, but she's okay to sharing.
And I think
sharing that because she's like, I've overcome this, or like, I have experience in this.
that's exactly what I was going to say.
So she feels a little wiser, but it's just, and I'm sure she is, but I think a lot of people are like, something ain't right. This doesn't look like it's going the right way. But again, we don't know the full story.
I mean, and that story was, do you mind if I tangentially go off to the topic of like Korean American churches and stuff like that? Like, part of the reason why that story, I think, struck such a chord with us, with our friend Andy, and with the people with whom it's striking a chord with, is like the fact that their relationship, the way that it's structured, the way their life is structured, a lot of their story is centered around the Korean American church, like the Korean church in America, I'll call it. It's not, I don't think the Korean American church is like I think Korean church in America is much more correct. But I think that is a big part of the reason why this story is so big.
Yes.
Yeah, it has legs.
Absolutely.
And I think it's so crazy that, like, on one hand, the Korean church in America can create lots of nightmare scenarios and lots of relationships formed out of situationships, right? That a lot of people could be like, oh, they met at church, like, boo on them, like, way to settle, you jerks, like, way to settle, you losers. Like, that is like the very easy thing to, come in and point your finger at and say. But it feels so crazy to me because I feel like we've transcended that.
Yeah.
Like, we've been able to break through it. It's not like, I am fully willing to admit, like, it is a thing. Like, relationships forming in Korean churches in America. And those people just kind of settling and like never doing anything more because they're like, oh, I just found my person. Like, man, that's going to be it. Like, I feel like we found each other through church, or like at church.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of church.
No.
But we found each other at church, and that's where our relationship started, but it certainly hasn't been limiting for us in any way.
No, yeah.
In any way, shape, or form. But like Korean church, like it's a doozy. It very much needed to exist, obviously.
Yeah.
I think. But it came with its own set of problems.
Right.
Like, so this guy, Andrew, one of the things is that he's a pastor, or used to be a pastor, or like that's like one of the things he did. Like, what about that gives you the ick? Like, because I know, like, you said he's a pastor. Ew.
Well, I think it's mostly because if he is a pastor, or he is a man of God, or he reads scripture, or whatever, why doesn't he be better to his wife? And I'm not saying he needs to go and get a job. Like, again, you don't need to have a job, but you don't really cook and clean. You don't do other things. You play video games. Like, I don't know. He could be taking care. I mean, I'm just judging, but like, that's why I think that's why I got the ick. I was like, wow, he doesn't know anything, and like, there's so many. I feel like there's so many scammy people in religion, especially Koreans. I don't know why. There's a lot of scammy people.
I feel like, can we just right off the bat? I just want to address this. Like, for us, it's very easy to say, like, especially in Korean church.
Right. Okay. That's true. There's scammers everywhere. But I feel like I hear a lot of.
There definitely are.
Right.
We can definitely say that.
Yeah.
There definitely are scammers in Korean.
Yeah.
church.
Well, I think there's just a lot of scammers in Korean culture in general, and cults and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. I agree with
Yeah,
that.
it's. I mean, that's what I just seen in the Korean news. A lot of stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. From my experience, from the little experience or
Yeah.
things I've read about or seen, or
From your specific experience.
right,
Yeah.
seen other people go through.
Right. Scamminess at Korean churches, and so like, you know, if we're therefore it's very easy for us to draw the analogy. We've seen a lot of scammy shit at Korean church. Andrew was a Korean church pastor. Like, yeah, that tracks. Like, it
I
doesn't.
mean,
like,
now
it's
that
not
we say it
surprising.
like that,
I'm not trying to
there's
accuse
not
him
enough.
of anything.
Yeah, there. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know what.
What? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I would have said I would thought he was a scammy guy because he was yeah.
I don't think we're not trying to say that he's a scammer
Yeah.
or that he's a criminal because
Right,
he's associated.
right.
We're just saying that the association like is kind of there, and that's one of the reasons why like your spidey senses were tingling about the story and you know about the situation.
Yeah.
That's all.
A lot of my spidey senses were tingling
yeah
before this all even came out.
Oh really?
Yeah. Not because you would see a lot of her videos where she's interacting with her family and then or they'd be like, oh, you know, Andrew just picked me up from the airport. We're going straight to my mom's to eat. And just like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a little bit more sensitive to those situations because we are in a marriage and we have in-laws and whatnot. And I don't know, I could just sense something. I really sense something that sometimes when he would be around them, I felt like he felt like a little, what's the word, like shy or just like
Standoffish.
a little bit, maybe because
The language barrier.
well, they all speak English,
Okay.
but I can't describe it. But I always felt like he felt like kind of not inferior. That's like a little too strong of a word, but you know, sometimes you get kind of a little self-conscious.
Okay.
I think I kind of sensed that in him a little bit. I'm like, oh, he kind of, you know, but obviously it just wasn't much of a thought because there was something to back it up. But then now finding out that he doesn't have a job and hasn't had a job for quite some time, I was like, okay, it makes sense.
One thing
it's probably hard to see your in-laws if you're like that and they know that, you know.
Absolutely, I can feel that.
But then also I've read that they treat him like his son, and they're like on all the videos I've seen, they're very loving and nice. Both in-laws, like her mother-in-law is very just sweet to her.
No, and another thing that just popped in my mind in terms of that could be contributing to Andrew's like standoffishness or like weirdness is just the fact that he's from the Midwest, and they're a fun California Asian family.
You know,
and he's a Midwestern Korean, and
maybe
you know Midwestern Koreans are way different than California Koreans, and I feel like that may be contributing to it too.
Maybe that contributes to the sense of a little slowness that I get from him. It kind of looks slothy. Kind of does look like a sloth too, but he just looks very like just like kind of like. That's a vibe I get from him.
Okay.
And at first, before I knew he was, I know this is like the jobless thing is like really coloring my picture of him. But before I knew he was jobless, I was like, oh, he's a little aloof.
Oh.
You know, or like whatever. But now I'm just like, no, he's like just kind of dumb. Like he's immature. And like, I don't know. I don't know. Where is this going?
I don't know.
I think I don't know.
No, I think.
That's a really long story. I feel like will this make sense to anyone? Probably not.
I mean, does it have to make sense?
No.
We just wanted to share and talk about some of our thoughts on this story that's developing in the world. And if people weren't aware of it, you know, hopefully now maybe they will be.
Yeah.
But again, I think the point that I want to drive home that we talked about before, we're not wanting to talk about this as a point and a place for judgment about Andrew and Sarah. It's not a judgment thing.
No,
It's just
yeah. I mean, I'm judging like a little bit naturally as a human. Let's be honest. But yeah, it's not the point of us. Is not to help make people make a decision about them because they're really. It's just
exactly, or or to say that they are definitively one way or what something.
yeah.
Like there's no labels.
Exactly. We're
not here to affix a label
Yeah.
to Andrew and Sarah. Be there. You are this forever. Like it's just an interesting scenario situation. The there's one more topic that I want to talk about, and that's the White Lotus episode, the latest one. And if you guys are watching this, we wanted to talk about the monologue. You guys know what I'm talking about, like the monologue. Let me pause this episode real quick, and we're going to show the monologue in the video, and let's talk about it. Okay. So we just rewatched that monologue, and the monologue is the one where Sam Rockwell is talking to, what's that other? I'm so terrible with characters' names, and
it's not Walt. Is it with a W?
Walt Goggins is the actor's name.
Okay.
So I'll just call him by the actor's names. Sam Rockwell is talking to Walt Goggins. And this is on the show, The White Lotus. And this is the monologue where he talks about, what brought him to drink chamomile tea. That was how it all started. They're like, so why are you drinking chamomile tea? And the guy, he starts going on about how he became a Buddhist. Why'd you become a Buddhist? Well, let me tell you the story. And he's telling the story about how he moved to Thailand, and, you go to Thailand, the sex work is like one of the main reasons why a lot of like single white people, or not white people, single males go to Thailand. But, he then tells a story about how he was there, no attachments, he's got money. He just went buck wild. And after about 1,000 nights of those, and the craving just still exists. The satisfaction is nowhere to be found. The next step of his journey, of his search to scratch that itch, is to get with the lady boy. And then eventually he has the lady boy fuck him. And then it goes to, what if I actually just want to be an Asian lady, an Asian girl? And the closest he can get to that is by like dressing up girly, finding guys that look like him to have sex with him, and sometimes even paying them for that, while he is paying an Asian girl to look at while this is happening to him.
Wow.
Insane, right? And here's the thing. People will hear that monologue, and I know there's a big portion of America, I'm just guessing, who hear that, and they're like, oh my God, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. This is insane. What? And it's unimaginable for them that someone would do that. And then obviously there are the people who this is their lives. Like this, like they feel seen. They're like, holy shit, this guy just told my life story.
Right.
I feel very much the same way, and I've been on a similar journey. So we have those two, like, I guess, ways to relate to this story, right? One is like extremely hits home. One is couldn't be further from the truth. But what I think is interesting about this monologue and why the relationship with Buddhism and things like that is
Buddhism.
For me, it's about the understanding of what that appetite and what that desire is. And I feel like like in all the senses that we have, in all the in all the cravings that we can have as people, it's very easy for us to go out and scratch it. And typically the ability to like go out and like have sex is like one of the ultimate like itches to scratch, mostly for the fact that it requires another person to trust you enough, or to not trust you enough, right? To let you engage in this activity with them. And at the end of the day, I feel like ultimately it's just another like sense, like a sensory input, like a pleasure seeking type thing. But because it's so wrapped up in this big taboo and all that of like Western society, that Western society is like dressed getting your rocks off up in, it creates this separation of understanding how your senses relate to who you are. But a story like this guy talking about where he thinks he has an itch, so he goes on and tries to scratch it, but even 1,000 nights in a row will not scratch it. It just leads him to go even further and a little bit deeper to try to scratch it. And eventually if you go on searching for anything long enough, like you just end up looking like that snake eating its own tail, the Ouroboros. And like the absurdity of him getting fucked by a stranger that looks like him while staring an Asian girl in the eye. Like that is the Ouroboros, like it's like the human centipede Ouroboros, like all like made up. But that's what happens when you try to externalize your search for that satisfaction. That kind of like deep satisfaction, the yearning, the craving that you have. Like this guy found it in Buddhism. Like the reason why this is like a story as old as time. Like Buddhism is the relationship, or is the religion of learning to let go of the need to scratch that itch, because that itch is not something to be. It's not intended to ever be satisfied fully. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like being hungry. Like if you are hungry, you're not going to go out and you're not going to fucking gorge yourself every time you get hungry. And it's not about going out and trying a different flavor every time you go out. It's not about chasing the flavor. Eating food is about making sure your body has enough energy to survive. And even then, you don't need a lot.
Right.
The whole idea of needing more and more is something that we trick ourselves into doing because we are afraid of not having in the future, right? Not saying that that's a bad thing, but I'm saying it is that desire for enough, for plenty, is very much rooted in the same type of chasing feeling that this guy was describing as well. All that to say, tying this back to what we were talking about with Sarah Kim and her husband Andrew, like I think a lot of what I heard in that sermon, or that little snippet of that sermon that Andrew was talking about when he was complaining about his wife making fun of him because he couldn't speak Korean, that is when Andrew comes off as whiny and bitchy and complaining about his wife because he is going outside of himself to find a reason why he can't speak Korean. That's not her fault, bro. It's not her fault because she's laughing at you. You just gotta do it. Like, if you want to do it, just do it. Don't let the fact that she's laughing at you
and
fucking stop you.
If you don't want to do it, then who cares?
Yeah.
But, it's not easy to be made fun of for not being able to speak a language, I guess.
Just get good, bro.
I know. Why aren't you? And then what's funny in the comments is like, they're like, how dare, like people are like, how dare you not learn Korean in your jobless? There are a lot of comments like that. It's just, it's so silly. And it's the first thing, I'm not gonna lie, I thought the same. Like, you have so much time. But also, I don't know what struggles he goes. He might have an issue.
He might have a learning disability.
I might have an issue. Yeah. Anyways, but that they've been weighing heavily on my mind this week. Going back to what we talk about men lacking. I feel like men lacking, there's varying degrees of the spectrum. And it's like a common thing. So I could relate to her as a female, like in a marriage, just as a wife.
Oh yeah.
And so my not relate to her on that level,
No,
but
I know
just
what you
relate to, you know, just
You can have
yeah.
You can relate. Yeah.
And so I felt for her, and you know, knowing that she's pregnant, and now this is all on the internet for people to. I mean, like we said, maybe she's empowered by it. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's people are
I think
responding.
at the very least, they're empowered by all of the extra views and attention that they're getting. Like, and I 100% believe that the capability to turn it around or use this as a to like have this happen and then like come out of it better. Like, that's what I hope for. That's all I hope for.
I hope that they, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, we shouldn't. Yeah. So there's so that's just been interesting. That's been on my mind. It's all over my For You page.
Yeah.
So I can't.
Well, I mean, guys, let us know in the comments if you guys have been paying attention to this story, if you've never heard about it before. I think it's pretty interesting, but again, I feel like it's kind of like I'm the intended audience for this particular story. So anyway, thanks again for your time, Sierra. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It was a great time. Good episode talking with y'all. Thank you for watching the General Future podcast or listening to the General Future podcast. And we'll catch you all next time. Bye.
Peace.